you to approach it this way. And John and I came to the conclusion from his behavior and how he sledgehammered the writers that as sharp as he was with his idea of where Star Trek was going, he did not have it in his capacity to identify where a problem was and communicate it to the writers so that the writers would be able to do it themselves. So he jumped in and he rewrote.
Let's get to that. I delivered my naked time on Friday. Monday morning, Gene Roddenberry's secretary came around to the secretary and the assistants and said, Gene wants all of you to copy these changes in naked time. And Mary couldn't do it and told Dorothy Fontana, who was then running for Gene, no, she couldn't do it. And Dorothy said, that's okay, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. And she did. But Gene had no way to explain to anybody what he wanted done. He'd get lost in his own thoughts. And that became somewhat of a truth that I didn't even notice until Mary brought it up the other day when we were talking about this whole situation.
Wasn't, because the show was still in its infancy, and you had writers who were writing screenplays for a series that they hadn't really seen beyond the second pilot yet. So wasn't he within his right, because he had the vision for the show, to keep each episode consistent with a single voice to, and because he was the day-to-day producer of the show, wasn't he within his right to do that?
No, he didn't have the right to do that. Not when he started to make the changes. He started to make changes in the first draft of the story. And the truth of the matter is that he had, the writers didn't just hit Roddenberry, they hit us too, Mary and I. And Mary can criticize. She knows how. And what I didn't know, she told me. And I told the writers. And the writers dealt with the fact that we were giving them the right kind of criticism. But Gene couldn't do that. He didn't have it in him. So what he did was he did the changes instead of telling somebody else to do it, he'd do it himself. And he wasn't always right. That's rewrite he did. I just couldn't handle it anymore. And when they said, okay, it's time for your contract to be renewed, I said, no, thank you. And they said, well, what would you like? And I said, $1 million a week. And they said, no, thank you. And I said, goodbye. And we left. After a party, of course.
In the world, because she believed in Star Trek before anyone knew what a Star Trek was, except for Gene Roddenberry. Let's talk about Lucille Ball championing Star Trek in 1964.
Yeah, well, Desi Lucy and Desi built Desi Lou Studios off of I Love Lucy. And the way that happened was CBS wanted them to do I Love Lucy in New York. And they lived in L.A. They had a ranch in the valley here. And they didn't want to make that trip, so they said, we want to shoot it in Los Angeles on film instead of doing it live out of New York in the school, a sitcom. And they said, we'll film it. We'll pay for the filming. All we want is rerun rights. CBS said, what's a rerun? Because it was all live TV. Look at the difference if you watch The Honeymooners and I Love Lucy. Produced at the same time. Look how much better Lucy looks. But The Honeymooners, that was live and in kinescope. So nobody had ever so networks didn't think we'd ever want to watch something a second time. That was Debbie Arnett's idea. And then CBS came and bought the rerun rights back a few years ago, later, for $1 million. A lot of money back. They took that $1 million and they bought RKO Studios, Sunset and Galley. And they turned it into Desi Lou Productions. It became the biggest TV production house in Hollywood. Not just shows that they owned, but shows that they would rent space to a lot of other shows. Shelton Leonard for a studio. So she got Herb Stoller to find some properties. He brought her Mission Impossible. He brought her two most expensive shows, Mad Nice 5, which is also from the Disney. Three most expensive shows being done on TV back then. The board of directors begged her not to do it. And what I never heard before, but in my research I found out, it's a book, surpassing my and doing it all. So, the thing is I thought, well, I've got at home, I've got like 5, 6 books on making a Citizen Kane on one movie. I thought there ought to be a book on every episode, but I wasn't that good. So I did a book on each season, and Gene invited me when he was still alive. He invited me to go through all the records, and he kept every copy of every story outline, every script, every memo, every correspondence with the network, everything, and 70 boxes like that. And so I distilled those a third of those 70 boxes into book 1 for season 1, the same for book 2, book 3. So we see the whole journey of the show and the blood, sweat, and tears that went into the making of every episode. Gene Coon, even though he stopped having his name listed halfway through the second season, almost all the scripts that you see in the second season, say produced by John Meredith Lucas, were bought and rewritten by Gene Coon. He was involved, memos are all in there, back and forth with him developing all these properties. But when you leave the show, you know, the day you leave that room and the other guy moves into the room, his name starts appearing on the show, even though you developed the script. Same thing with John. John was heavily involved in the writing and reading in his first meeting with NBC, that he couldn't believe Roddenberry was talking to him the way he was. And after that, NBC would not talk to him. So he's produced a show for a network and nobody will talk to him because they don't want the show.
Package to sell to syndication. 5 years. It took, or how many ever, I don't know how many episodes, but whatever. And we had to do 5 seasons. Well, we were all hoping for the 5 seasons, of course, because we wanted it to go into rerun. But it didn't happen. That's really where the money was, the syndication. And so when it came to that mission, 5-year mission, well, that was the 5 years. It was the 5 years so we could make it to syndication.
They called him Moore's management because he represented the management. And everybody knew it, but except for Saul.
And full, and they were not very well made. Those are 3 men. That's the best I can do.
Memo from Bob Justman in here, to Bill Tice. No, it was to Gene Coon. Gene Coon saying, I saw you walking across the lot the other day, and Bill Tice was showing you those spacesuits we used to make the time. Please, don't use those. They were made out of shower curtains. and the reason a sharp-pointed knife toward his body, so they had to make it a butter knife to keep the network. In the arena, when the ship came to a sudden stop, one of the notes from NBC when Sulu falls out of his chair is, don't make it look like he hurts himself. We don't want to alarm the audience.
But, total joke, buddy, total joke. But the Star Trek that I love, well, finally in 2014, Star Trek did continue, and I just want to show you a good old-fashioned Star Trek teaser right now. Hi guys, we are getting to do what everybody in this room always dreamed of doing. I partnered up with several friends from another, possibly you know, a web series called Starship Farragut. We partnered up about a year ago. We acquired a 9,600 square foot building in Jacksonville, Florida, and we proceeded to rebuild the entire soundstage from the original series of Star Trek. Every element of it. We didn't have room for the engineering, but the big bending corridor, and we've got a lot of fun things ahead. We would love for you to share in the adventure with us. Thank you so much. That's very much. All right.